So we're gonna check out MangaKamen's video on Yick. Now you might see that the title says how MangaKamen is wrong about Yick or whatever I decide to put. Um, yeah, he's pretty wrong. But it's mostly just a clickbait title. I'm not trying to fight MangaKamen in a boxing ring right now. I am not physically fit to do so.
Fair enough.
But I just want to kind of go over whatever his talking points are. I've seen both his first video and his second video. I'm just gonna watch the second video here because I'm a little over time and I want to get done with this pretty quickly. If somebody's been sitting here watching the stream, you'll see that I'll probably end up saying a lot of the same things I've said for a lot of other videos, and that's a common trend with these videos, unfortunately. If you're watching through the playlist, you'll hear me repeat a lot of things. I'm sorry. I'm not the one who wrote these videos. If I could, I would rewrite them to actually include new thoughts. I'm joking. In a video game. But yeah, let's just jump into it. I forgive you. Thank you, Bo.
My mistake was thinking that video games are art.
And my mistake was thinking that somebody would make a Yick video without mentioning that.
Yeah.
This.
Creative commentary.
Disclaimer, this video is a remake of an older video, mainly because there are people who will discount the fact that I used a furry character in my original video.
You're totally not serious. You can't be that stupid, right?
No, he might actually be that stupid.
And basically slam me for it. This video expects you to be somewhat familiar with Yick, but will give some explanation and context when I talk about it.
I like how your spoiler warning just it contains etc. etc. Like, can you actually list what you're gonna spoil for me? I don't want you to spoil Spider-Verse for me, just suddenly out of nowhere, because I should expect that to be spoiled.
This better not spoil the ending of Friends.
I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen to Ross, but I love that man.
To find the cat. I scanned the dark floor and found nothing. I sighed as the elevator began to shake, vibrating with motion.
Vibrating with
the elevator came to a smooth but unexpected stop. I cringed with anxiety as the lights flickered. Please don't die. Please don't die. I pleaded with the mechanical gods to keep the power on. My prayers weren't answered.
Oh, shut the up! I love video games. And I love stories in video games, but sometimes the story can be getting in the way of me enjoying said game, even when the narrative itself is the means of entertainment. Don't get me wrong, if it's a visual novel, well, that's the name of the game is reading.
Wow, another reference we don't get. You must be a hardcore loser.
That's kind of the point. I'm not going into Phoenix Wright expecting him to throw Hadoukens. Coffee maybe, but not Hadoukens. But I shouldn't be buried in useless, boring dialogue in order to get to the meat of these games.
Boring, useless dialogue. Yeah, alright.
I understand that there's a need for establishment, but there's also times where games will just bury you in dialogue and such and will make you want to go,
I really resent this opinion because it basically says you can't have a lot of dialogue intentionally or in a meaningful manner.
Right. So I actually have a question for you about that. I don't know if you answered it earlier in the stream, but there are, in fact, a lot of games that have a ton of fluff dialogue. So what...
Man, yeah.
How do you think the reader or the viewer or the player, I guess I should say, was cued that they should be paying attention a little bit more clearly than they would for another game?
So, like, fluff dialogue and other... Like, there's a way that I approach how I look at dialogue in games, right? I don't necessarily look at exactly what they're saying. I kind of go for what the idea they're trying to express, right? And I don't look at it as like the idea that the author is trying to express. I'm thinking the characters to each other. What are they trying to tell each other, right? And like sometimes characters will be speaking directly to you. And at that point, you have to understand that the story is skewed in a different way than it would be if they were just talking to each other the whole time. You know, in a Persona 5, you know, he's going on. You keep coming back to this scene, but it's not, the character isn't talking to you. You're just experiencing the story through kind of like embodying the character and like putting yourself in their shoes. Yik is uniquely not like that. It is explicitly about somebody telling you a story. And that's where things get really important to pay attention to. When somebody is telling you a story, they might not be telling you everything truthfully, or they may be greatly exaggerating some details of the story. That's
like the stream. That's you.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, it happens. What happens is they're exaggerating the story. So it's like, hey, you know, every line of dialogue becomes so much more important because one thing, as soon as they contradict themselves, there's something in there that they didn't want to tell you. And that's where, you know, following the story, pay attention to the visuals and all of this become really important. And while it might seem like fluff dialogue, any one-off dialogue can be way more important than you give it credit for if you just don't want to experience it, or
Love it.
You think that it's beneath you to experience it.
That isn't to say there aren't ways to get around this, but I've seen a lot of games that have this bit of an issue of putting too much dialogue in their games. And that's where we come to the main theme of this video.
Can you give me another example?
Yik.
Seems like something
No,
boys
apparently
would
not.
like. Do you recognize the location from these photos?
That's behind the old grocery store. Obviously, you've been there before.
Interesting.
Really interesting, considering that grocery store doesn't exist in this reality.
What's your name, by the way?
My name's Vela Wild. It's interesting to meet you.
Yeah, we're wrapping
I'm guessing you're a cameraman, and this is your sidekick, Ginger Boy?
Usually I go by Alex. Only my mom is allowed to call me Ginger Boy.
Man, he missed the best line in that whole exchange is when Michael goes, "Man, she really gets us. You really would be my sidekick." That is one of my favorite lines in the whole game. Just like, skip over it. No. Like, please.
I've talked about this game once before in the past, and most people have gotten the idea that I don't think Yik is a good game. And they'd be right. And as it turns out, Yik is about to get a content overhaul. They're going to revamp the battle system, and they're going to add more bosses and a brand new character. Frankly, I don't think adding more characters is a good idea in this bloated mess, but hey, I'm going to be optimistic here. And I figured I'd talk about the game one more time in a better sense and give some attention to some issues that I had that I didn't bring up in my original video. I do want to make a video talking about Yik when he gets an update, but for now, I figure it's time that we talk about the original game as it is right now. And I'm putting that off by talking about Persona first.
Ah, yeah, let's go. Starting off with... so, this is rough. Starting off with Persona 4 is really bad, in my opinion.
What do you mean?
Persona 4's opening is so dreadful. It is, and it's not even at fault of the narrative or anything like that. It's like, it's designed to kind of, because Persona 4 is a game specifically about character interactions, where the previous game wasn't, gameplay wise, the character interactions in 3 are more important than they are in 4. Hot take. But in 4, it's all about building up all these characters to be all, you know, you're supposed to like all of them. You're supposed to really understand every aspect of every single one of these characters, even more so than you do in Persona 5. And it takes so long because it's trying to set up every aspect of these characters for you to understand them and enjoy them and think of them as your friends. So going, it takes too long with dialogue, and going Persona 4, I'm like, man.
Right.
Even
Persona 4 is
3.
the wrong lens to bring to the
Yeah,
situation for sure.
Persona 3 and Persona 5 get way faster to the point.
You know you've got a good video when you're critiquing a well-known popular game title from ages ago, and that game has pretty much allowed the Persona series to branch out from the Shin Megami Tensei series. Persona 4, it's a game that got me into Persona as well as the other Shin Megami Tensei games, but it isn't perfect, and what's something you can say about every game, I had to bring it up here. Now, I'm not going to waste your time with a 5-hour-long video that's overly nitpicky to paint a game being terrible.
Every day I wake up and I hope you're...
And end up contradicting itself and being a condescending... But Persona 4, it's a game...
Wow, I think he really doesn't like that guy.
Who is that guy?
Just some other YouTuber who made a video that he said he didn't like Persona 5.
Oh.
Love. One of the biggest issues with the game that I have is how it takes you a long time to actually...
I'm going to point out the irony of him going, wow, this guy's being a condescending in all this.
Yeah, yep.
I'm just saying, it's a little funny.
Add Cheryl back in.
Yeah, I'm adding Cheryl back in. Welcome back to the party, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
I'm only here for a little bit, but I am here. Hi.
Yeah, we're reaching the end of Yickening Day 1. Which inarguably is the stupidest name I ever came up with for anything.
So I want you to go ahead and defend it right now. When people compare this to titling something The Fappening, how will you defend yourself?
I'll whip my dick
Great
out.
thing to come back to. Picking up right where we left off, I see.
I think Knights does it intentionally. He's like, oh, Cheryl's here. It's time to mention something lewd.
I like how you can't go to any Yick video without being recommended a video essay about Omori.
Omori, great.
Also, yeah, Persona 4's opening is super rough. Well, it's not even that it's rough, but it's just a horrible comparison to make.
When you're gonna go, this other game's bad, and you go, yeah, Persona 4 is a better game, and you're like talking about the opening, how dreadful it is with pros. It's like, hey man, you know, Persona 4 takes a fucking year to start up.
It's beyond that. It's like, oh, Persona 4 is better. It's like, no, yeah, no shit.
I mean
which is worse, Persona 4 or Suikoden 5?
I haven't played Suikoden 5.
Oh man, it starts off so slow.
There's so many games that start off slow that are great. Like, it's not me hating Persona 4. It's like
I love Persona 4.
It's just
but like
the comparison is huge.
I wonder what
to
the
say
general gaming populace prefers. Persona 4 or literally any other game with a slow start.
Wait, so if he's talking about Persona 4, why did he tag it as Persona 5?
Get into the actual gameplay. You get off the
He's a
train, you
YouTuber?
meet your family, you have a spooky little dream.
Persona 5
is more popular.
That doesn't count as actual gameplay. You go to school, you meet some of the plot.
I'm really quiet. Yeah, I turned myself down a little bit because I was peeking, but yeah, I'll turn myself back up.
And all the while, I'm just sitting on my couch, turning into a statue with an opposable thumb to hit the X button. It's a serious wall for more casual.
I think some dude other was about to say, "You're really quite handsome."
In contrast, Persona 5 fixed
Got
this
him.
greatly by having the player be in the middle of the plot. Of course, the game now goes to the tedium of having it be set in a flashback, but Persona 5 at least gets the player into the action and will have them be more willing to get into the game.
Hey, you know what's funny? There was a whole dungeon that was planned.
Pacing's a lot better at the beginning, and it allows the player an actual taste.
There was an
of the
entire
actual
dungeon
game
that was
before the
planned at the
story actually
to
begins.
originally start off the game. It was the Essential Tutorial Dungeon, and what happened was beta testers tried it and did not like it. Said it was dull and takes too long to get to the point, so they removed it. Just clarify that.
Can I just point out how even after this introduction, like Persona 5 doesn't start until like 4 hours later?
Yeah.
Persona 4 is bad, but if you have to muck about a lot to get to the actual meat of the game, that's kind of the issue that people can take towards a lot of video games. And we've seen this before in games like Twilight Princess, and it's a little
People
bit
need to
worse
read
in
more
my
books.
opinion for Persona 4, because that's an RPG. Now, why did I go into a rant talking about Persona 4 and 5 in a video about Yik? Well, that's because if you play Yik, you realize that it decided to follow Persona 4's slow start and apply it to the entire game. The story, the dialogue, the battle system.
Okay.
This video was released in November. That's 1.03 footage.
I 100% accept criticisms of the combat in the game. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter that I accept it, but I'm saying they're valid, right?
Yeah.
Except when people go, the combat's slow. And I'm like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. It's a turn-based RPG. Take your turn faster.
Well, no, I mean, like, the actual moves do take a little while to happen. I mean, it's a legitimate statement. They just didn't qualify it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying even now people say that about the 2.5 update. Or 1.25 update. 1.2 number 76. Yeah. They even say that about the recent update.
You are not alone.
It's slow, and it's like...
Look, it says it right there, 2.5 on the screen.
25. Yeah,
oh my god.
Like...
So, is this the third ending?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, I don't understand it being slow, and that's a problem. It's like, take your turns faster. Be better at the mini games.
And the worst part of it all, it's
Get
obvious
good, kid.
that Yik takes a lot of cues from Persona 4, and that's just not me saying it based on my experience. That's what Axe Studios themselves have stated that they took inspiration from. I look like I'm joking.
A bit of. It said so right there.
Both have a focus on small town.
This town is miles away from your big city of perverts and assholes.
Both have a focus on the supernatural.
Does it really have a focus on small towns?
Focus on mystery elements.
Yeah.
Focus on a supposedly wide cast of animated characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I will give it Windtown. Windtown's really small town kind of focus.
Frankton's very small too.
But
supposedly.
Frankton's more like a suburb to me, and I'm like, that's not exactly a small town.
It's incidental.
Yeah. But no, I will say there is a generous amount of focus on Windtown as like an entity.
Yeah.
So I can give them that. And maybe there's a little bit of Flagtown, and there will be a bit more of Flagtown because they plan on adding Cape Juno back, and that's a contrasting town. But yeah.
This is the first time hearing about this.
Yeah. But yeah.
Let's go.
I'll cry. I'll cry.
Huh?
Did you preach NDA again, Hellcry?
No, that's something he's mentioned.
Public knowledge.
Oh.
He's mentioned that Cape Juno's coming back.
Most of the girls still has a better selection than Yik with that lousy piece of crap.
Why'd they cut to the best part of the game? Just kidding.
So if you couldn't tell, I don't like Yik, a postmodern RPG, because
we know
that's right with the problem.
That's completely
my
fine.
mind is rocked.
I respect your opinion, but you can still be wrong about story details while having the opinion that the game's bad.
Correct.
There we go.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to explore here.
To the characters, even some very off-putting controversies. Although I will say some of those controversies are kind of stupid, and they actually detract from the game in a much more meaningful manner than I would like.
Base, do you know controversies are stupid? Let's skip him talking about the controversies. Am I right? Can I really?
No, he starts talking about the writing.
Because I prefer to judge a game based on what it is, and not what it's based on. But that's just me determining the quality of games, since controversy can actively hide the flaws of a game. So let me get this out of the way. Yes, I am aware of the plagiarized quote. I am aware of the use of Lisa Liam's death in the game.
Plagiarized quote, not plagiarized.
Grave in the game.
Okay. It's not plagiarism. You don't know what that word means. You don't know anything about Elisa Lam, and it's not Elisa Lam. Iwata's grave, that doesn't matter.
Do we really have to point to Murakami himself sharing Yik?
Hey, yeah, I mean, I could do that right now. Look at this. Here's a screenshot. Haruki Murakami sharing Yik. He's aware of Yik. If it was plagiarism and there was a legal issue, it would have been settled by now, and we wouldn't be talking about it. if it was plagiarism, we wouldn't be talking about it. We would know. We would all know. it wasn't plagiarism.
You know, if I put this through a actual plagiarism checker, it would not even register on my fucking radar in terms of the amount of text that is in other works. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a reference. It's called a reference.
On top of that, there's a Murakami sharing the page, which I think on its own should like clear everything up.
Yeah.
But there are like hundreds of other examples of games doing this exact sort of thing.
Movies, books, TV shows,
everything,
every single
literally everything.
Music. I've one of my favorite bands. They'll take a clip from a TV show and start their song with a clip from a TV show.
So every mashup that Cheryl has ever made is direct plagiarism.
Right.
So it's people when this happens in games with games specifically, okay, let's limit it to games specifically. People just take it as, oh, this is a nice literary allusion to something.
Yo, not if the game's bad. Not if it's logic.
Yeah, so like from what I can remember, there's something very similar in Undertale. I haven't played that game in like 5 years probably, but from what I remember, there's like something very similar where like there's a passage that's like from a book or something, and people were just like, oh, that's nice illusion. But like when Yik does it, like suddenly oh no, he plagiarized from the guy who shared his page about the game that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
It doesn't hold up to scrutiny at all. So stop talking about it, please.
Yep. Moving forward.
That means I am accepting them. To me, they only act as a smokescreen for the actual flaws of the game. And probably one of the worst parts of the game is the writing.
I sighed as the elevator began to shake.
There it is! There it is!
One of the best ways to get people mad at your game is to waste their time. There's a difference between padding out a game and making it...
Okay, so I don't exactly understand this criticism of any game is going, it wastes our time. And it's like, look, I signed up to have an experience here. You know, I go, hey, I'm going to set aside some time to play this game. That time is spent on that game. You know what I mean?
So what about mining for materials in Minecraft? That's kind of a waste of my time, right?
I wonder.
Do you want the materials, Knights?
I don't know. Like, but when I play idle games, I have to spend a lot of time going through a gameplay loop to get anywhere. Is that a waste of my time?
Do you want the thing, Knights?
I don't know, but I think if it isn't like popularly horrible, I do want the thing.
Oh, then it's not a waste of your time.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
So I just have a question. Does Alex being extremely wordy and saying stupid shit like vibrating with motion, does that actually mean anything for the character, or is it just a script being bad poopy?
Oh, it is a direct relation to the character because this is all his narrative. This is his narration. This is what the character is talking about. This is how he feels about his life. This is the grand importance he has. Or he thinks he has.
If it's also part of a character flaw that he has where he just monologues on for way too long and is extremely wordy and reads like...
Stop breathing so heavily.
And feels like he's the main character in the novel.
It almost feels like he might be really important, and like his importance is a really critical part of his character, and like he thinks that he can just keep making up more stuff to just keep saying. And so, it makes it more deep and more profound, but really he's just saying things constantly.
So yeah, vibrating with motion, that line being stupid and Alex saying such a stupid line means that the game's writing is bad instead of Alex just being stupid and thinking he's a thesaurus.
If you have ever found one single line in Shakespeare that sucks, Shakespeare's bad.
True. No, but I will say, Alex saying the elevator vibrating, shaking with motions, all that, whatever. It's like, dude, really, all you have to say about that is, dude's a fucking dork.
Yeah. Like, I like that.
all
what
of
they
this
pick apart. That's what they pick apart from Alex instead
Right.
of like the numerous shit he does to his friends.
They're all going on about this line about how terrible it is.
Adding on to what I've been saying about Alex being an extremely human character, like I feel like most people know at least one person who thought of themselves as like an English book, something as the novel, and they would speak as if
I am
they
the great
ate
American
a
novel.
thesaurus for breakfast.
Yeah.
And like, everyone knows one of these people, and Alex is one of those people.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, he did study liberal arts at college.
And look what it gets you.
almost-
You're in an elevator, vibrating, shaking with motion.
So, like...
Well, what else do you vibrate with?
Don't answer that.
And I click play on the video.
Like, it's not just the main character Alex who does this. The game will shovel a ton of exposition onto the player without nothing really to say or anything to keep the players entertained. For example, there's a scene where...
Some people like exposition dumps. Hello.
Can
I'm
I
a
see
nerd.
you?
I
Okay,
love.
okay.
Yeah, well,
Can I
most
comment
people like
on
dick, so they
how
don't matter.
absolutely stupid show don't tell is? Like, people pointing to show don't tell as if it's like a golden rule. Like, have you ever read a book?
Have you ever played show and tell?
See, the problem with a book is it's literally words telling me the story. It's not showing me the story.
When
But what about
it's a
ASCII
game
art?
specifically influenced by Murakami and postmodern literature, I think the point is that it feels like a postmodernist Murakami book instead of
Void, you don't understand.
here's a
Unpopular
video
games
game.
cannot be influenced by greater works of art. They only plagiarize greater works of art.
where it's particularly bad with a two-person dialogue while your characters are pretty much discussing serious junk in a sewer.
But there's poop down here.
Why would you stay there to talk about how apparently
was
there are
extremely
multiple
facetious.
universes? Look, I get it. I know I can get distracted when people start talking about metaphysical BS.
Pay attention. One day you'll need to know what a quantum singularity is, and then you'll be sorry!
Yeah, right.
But you'd figure that you'd pick a place to talk about it where you don't run the risk of falling into sewage.
Really? This is highbrow criticism right now?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. My bad.
Now, Yeek is a special case as one of the worst aspects of the game, other than having one of the worst people voicing the main character. Yeek tries to sound smart through its tens of hours of gameplay and story, but fails when you consider the...
Correction. Alex tries to sound smart. We'll throw that one out there. That you can have that one. I'm not going to criticize you too much.
If you think
Alex
about
tries
it, did Undertale really need to happen underground? It's like there's so much dirt.
There's
You could
definitely
use-
more there's more convenient places to talk about things than a graveyard where people have literally died. Like, come on.
Does anyone ever talk about those circles hovering over like the ground, making it look like water?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses that effect a lot.
Thing throws everything out the window at the end. Rules are established and then they're broken. It just makes no sense. And while Alex is the main culprit,
Okay,
why
so
could that be? Why could that be?
Maybe that's what is it called when you're told something and it's like something that's going to be like referred to later?
Guys,
Or
okay.
Abuse.
Here's my crackpot theory, and this is they might just be playing 4D chess on us, but that's probably not what's happening. So
Yeah.
in literature, like especially in postmodernist literature, they use a lot of this thing called an unreliable narrator.
I've never
that has
heard
a lot
those
of
two words in my
syllables.
life.
Will you please
No.
say it in less syllables?
Alex is an unreliable narrator, and
So he's a fucking liar?
People, yes.
No,
Oh.
the protagonist wouldn't lie.
No, wait, what?
Like,
No.
guys,
Well, also,
Even
I want to
without
throw this
being-
out here about this whole point. Like, yeah, Alex unreliable, yes, but here's the thing that kind of trips a lot of people up: is these characters are speaking from their perspective. They don't know everything. They know what they've experienced, what they know. So when they tell you something and then somebody else tells you something and it doesn't match up, that doesn't mean one of them lied to you or one of them, is the one that's right or anything like that. They could both be right because they experienced
They
something
could
from
also
their
both be
perspective.
wrong.
And they could both be wrong. And that happens.
I think everyone in the world should get like a cheat sheet so everyone's stories are in sync.
I had a thought about this. I had really a nuanced thing, but I'm not gonna say it because it's a little insensitive.
So then why bring it up?
Well, yeah, well, now you're gonna leave us in hanging like that. That's not fair.
It's a trait of certain types of autism where they
Oh,
don't
okay.
consider
Don't do it then.
they don't consider that people are working off different amounts of information, and they expect everybody to have the same amount of information. It's not everybody that's autistic has this, but it's something that happens. And
So
that's,
I actually have that problem, but I am definitely not autistic according to diagnostic criteria. I don't think it's necessary autism, but
yeah,
I have that problem.
Yeah,
I feel like people, even if they're the most neurotypical person like ever, a lot of people still apply this to fiction, like have this problem with fiction. I've seen a lot of people go, oh, why don't these two characters, why are they contradicting each other? Like, this doesn't make sense. Or like, why isn't the story more cohesive? Instead of like considering that the characters themselves are contradicting each other, instead of it being a narrative flaw.
Yeah.
Has information about Sammy Park, a girl who went missing and is basically the key starting point of the entire game. Sounds good, right? When you first meet the guy, he takes you around his town and spouts off metaphysical BS and supposedly deep stuff.
I have this theory.
Wow, that's not
Physicality
loaded.
And the nature of our universe. It has a lot to do with the temporal nature of our bodies. You can't tell me all of that is a coincidence.
Okay, not a big deal, especially when you consider the time of the scene. It doesn't really add up to 7 minutes. But did we really need...
The elemental composition of the human body can be looked at from the point of view of either mass composition or atomic composition.
Why not? Why not?
Hey, Full Metal Alchemist.
I just want to like quickly for a second. I know we're being very facetious with the way we respond to this, but this is just because he is being extremely facetious. Like, especially, like, you could see that especially with like the sewer comments. Oh, did it need to be in a sewer where you could fall in poop? And then he played a funny poop video.
Right, that's kind of the problem when you decide to slant your video so hard, is that people won't necessarily take it very seriously, especially if they're trying to have a reasonable
I mean, how
conversation.
often can it be 41 minutes and 50 seconds?
Facts.
We are, but we can only be so serious and responding to a video where, like, what if they fall in poop?
Yeah, facts. No, I agree.
Most of the mass of the human body is oxygen, but most of the atoms in the human body are hydrogen atoms.
Every day I wake up.
This before we got to the sewer.
Why do you think Rory was quoting something like that? It's because Alex doesn't understand it himself, so that's what he just projects onto Rory.
Not to waste your player's time as well, especially with stuff that's completely pointless. However, if you were to ask me, the biggest offender in this game would have to be this mop head.
Tell me about this.
Wait, someone
Okay.
hates Mark?
A lot
What?
of people hate Mark.
Oh,
but
wow.
I was
It's
unaware of this.
it's a matter of like, okay, really, if you're gonna be really annoyed by Mark, I guess, sure, okay, that's fair. But yeah, some people have a really vitriolic view of Mark, and I'm like, he's okay.
I mean, they're gonna have a vitriolic response to literally anything in the game.
This requires some explanation, because while I'm sure most people who are watching this are familiar with Yeek know exactly where the hell I'm going with this point, because almost every sucker who's played this game can tell you that this is one of the biggest wastes of time this game gives you, I'm going to do it anyway because I know there's going to be one jerk out there who's going to be complaining about this. Okay, so you're on a quest to find a record to play for an interdimensional being known as a soul survivor. As you do. Huh, that's a neat looking cover. I can't help but wonder where I've seen that red-haired guy before. Anyway, we go around the entire map, getting our party safe for one character, and finally go to the top of a mountain after dealing with a long dungeon. And when we finally get to the guy who supposedly has the record...
You, my dear boy, must listen to my greatest hit. Murder Run and Melancholia Reigns Unbroken.
Oh, shut up!
No joke, Mophead Mark here goes on to talk about a story about how his friend got indoctrinated into a water-drinking pony scam in an attempt to stave off his immortality. So on top of having to go around searching for this damn record...
I wonder if Alex has some form of ADHD or some sort of focus disorder.
Outside this one point.
The power of metal unites all! You see, heavy metal is the oral manifestation of all things good and powerful in the world. It contains the perfect positive energies to dispel hate, racism, sexism...
Has MangaKamen ever spoken to, like, an old musician ever?
No, yeah, I can confirm this is just how it is.
That's how it is talking with Andrew sometimes. He just goes on and you're like yeah, I mean, okay.
But
I mean about music specifically.
Ever talking to, like, a musician, like, in general? Like, if they have stories, they will tell them.
Or even somebody that's, like, really interested in music. Because somebody that's really interested in music will have some crazy story about something.
If you let them, they can just go on and on and on with their stories, and not that that's bad. Like, a lot of the times, most of the times, they're very interesting stories, but, like, you're complaining that an old musician is going on and on and on about his stories, even though that's what old musicians tend to usually do. This is speaking from experience. Like, some of, like, my family has always been super into music. If I let my grandfather go on and on and on about music, he can literally lecture me for days on end, and I wouldn't see the end of it. And even, like, friends' parents are also musicians. Like, they always have crazy stories, which they always tell, and they're amazing. But, like, you're complaining that a character is actually, like, very, very realistic in this.
Yeah, I just, it's one of those scenes where it's like, okay, like, if you really want to make the argument that it's long and drunk out, sure. And it doesn't have any direct meaning with things, and it's like, okay, sure.
It's just a human moment.
It's a huge nitpick that I'm just kind of, like, not interested in, to be honest. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then you're going to make a bigger deal about it than it really is.
I'm gonna hit it again. I will pop back on tomorrow.
Alright, see you tomorrow.
Bye, Joe.
Alex didn't have his brains replaced with instant mashed potatoes.
Yeah, okay, enough about this topic. Can you tell me about this tea we're drinking?
We're here for the record, not tea! Why are we talking about tea?
Oh, because maybe it actually highlights something.
Issue.
I found the jacket. Here, I have it with me.
Ah, yes. The Mystical Ultima LP Legend by Vela Wild.
Did you say Vela Wild?
Yeah. But didn't you know this already? It's on the cover. Did you even read it?
To hang myself.
Look, I can understand that some people are just dumb, and that they can't notice tiny little details. But for crying out loud, this record jacket has Alex on it. Did no one question this?
No, maybe you should question it. Come on.
Wearing the record jacket since there's lines of dialogue that says this. Nobody questioned why they're on the record. Claudio!
Oh, you're so
Michael,
close.
Rory, why did no one look at this damn record? What the fuck? There's one more thing I need to talk about.
Yeah. Do you mind telling me why? MangaKamen, can you please tell me why those people are on the record?
Yeah.
I'm really
God,
interested.
that's so damn close.
Why? Oh, I mean, you can ask why, but you can all have an answer.
Self-aware
Okay.
wolves.
Before I jump into gameplay, because if I keep doing this, I'm gonna go insane. And trust me, in the original draft of this script, I had jumped ship after that, but I need to talk about this because it talks about how the characters speak. I know that Alex is the poster boy of being the living hot air balloon, but some of what these other characters say can be really off-putting. Vela, aka the person who made the record, has a heart-to-heart with Alex, and we finally learn about her past in one of the weirdest ways possible.
And you never saw him again?
I did. It was May 22nd, 1998. 12:01.
Okay, so this person has never lived in the suburbs before, but like late nights on a swing set talking about deep things. That's kind of basic.
That's really normal. I did that a lot when I was a kid.
That is
teenager.
Right,
Not even as a
teenager,
kid.
even 20 years old, I'd be like, yeah, we could just go hang out at this,
Yeah,
on a
it's
nice summer's
great.
night.
You get old enough that it becomes
so-
weird if you're out on a swing set late at night.
No.
As a
I
dude,
want
anyway.
to comment on this. So one of the biggest
Especially when
heartbreaking things-
especially when she's emotional and leaves the room and goes somewhere, it's like, okay, a swing set's a nice place to sit.
So one of the saddest things that ever happened to my close friend group is the park we used to hang out in was like taken over by like super loud party people, and they throw like beer bottles and everything all around, and they always have like really loud music. So like we can't go to the park and swing at the swing sets at 2 a.m. anymore. And like it's just one of those things where like if you've experienced it, you're just like, oh yeah, this has happened to me before.
Yeah.
Like people do speak like this, people do speak at a swing set, people do have these experiences.
Yeah. Just goofy.
1 p.m. A minute into the first concert I had put on since his disappearance. I had refused to do our music live or release a distant voice until I had seen him again.
Like, I can appreciate the background to a character that Alex isn't pontificating about. But when you go into great detail like this, unless you're somehow planning someone's heart attack by writing them in the death note, who takes this much notice at the exact minute of when they...
It was an extremely traumatic experience for her. How she addresses her trauma is not up for you to decide.
get their heart broken.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
I wish they treated this video with the same lens of criticism as they treated Yick.
The best way I can put it is that I can see the man behind the curtain. I know this was written by someone who is trying way too hard to come off as deep.
That is magical thinking, and it is not good thinking.
Is it Andrew? Or
Wow.
Is it Alex that's trying to come off as deep?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is definitely. But I'm going to say, wow, MangaKamen, I didn't know you knew Andrew Allenson.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What the fuck do you mean?
What is the yelling that they keep playing in the background?
I love how he is purposefully not using the speed up function.
Let's talk about the gameplay, since that's one of the lesser of evils in that regard. I hope. Dear God, I've written this script and I know I'm gonna get mad by reading it. Now, I said in my original video that the battle system took inspiration from Paper Mario and its sequel, The 1,000-Year Door. since it has things akin to small mini-games in order to make the attacks more effective. On paper, it's a good system to adapt for a game. It keeps the player engaged, and it can even make a tired system refreshed when it comes to adding new weapons or such to it, since that can change up the mini-games. That's actually a good idea. How does Yik screw it up?
It's all the same.
He has a
shit.
full bar of time energy. Okay, pause. He has a full bar of time energy. He's speeding in between the points. Like,
And your point is the game's bad design. What are you talking about?
Criticize the combat all you want. This is some donkey driving over sharp terrain and then complaining about how the driving is bad tier shit.
A little bit. A little bit. It's a little. What's a little? It's a little.
Like, yeah, criticize the game all you want. Just don't purposely fuck things up.
RPG with the dramatic camera angles. Think like traditional Final Fantasy 7 or 8.
Trust me! I was in Soldier.
The thing about Paper Mario style combat is that it's a more side view, so that way people can get a feel of timing and length in order to get the timing down for both dodging and attack.
I don't think that really matters.
Yik, however, doesn't do that, since the enemies and characters are pretty much static where they stand. So even if it comes to timing with the animation...
Hey, Hellcry, I have a question for you.
What?
Why are you going through the gameplay criticism when we all agree that a lot of it is valid and we're trying to focus on story?
You know what? I could skip ahead. I just didn't know if he'd say anything about the story because, well, these videos are usually more structured. But yeah, in the interest of saving time, that is a great point.
Is that your hobby?
Is what my hobby?
Staring off into space and screwing up your face as if to say, what's going on inside my head is really important, so just let me think.
Hey, I don't make...
So,
what the
let's talk about the characters.
I'm Alex. This is Vela and Michael.
That if they play a game where the main character is unlikable or has to do some bad stuff, they immediately get triggered by it.
You boys take that stuff too seriously.
The characters suck! Okay, for the sake of argument and so I can pad this video out more to maximize my AdSense, let's
Very
talk about
self-aware.
them. I guess I'll talk about the actual good characters.
I wonder if that was a mistake. I don't think he intended to be self-aware in that moment.
No, I've seen people accuse Yik of the same thing. They call it lampshading.
I'm sorry, dude. You just asked for that, bro.
This is perfect.
Yo,
Oh.
look, if there's one star in this dark sky of a game, it's Claudio. He happens to be the only real character that I actually enjoyed seeing on the screen, and he was genuinely...
Claudio's great.
Yeah.
Can't hate him for that.
Just let me know when you're ready to start training. Oh yeah!
It's a shame he wasn't in a better game, or that his love of anime wasn't his most defining trait and made him out to be nothing more than a butt of jokes.
Well, if you think that's his defining trait, then that's your deal, man.
Yeah, I want to take a moment to talk about Claudio's love of anime and his obsession over it. Because it's specifically how he ties into his relationship with his missing brother.
Again, let's just take it at face value. Let's assume MangaKamen doesn't know anything about his missing brother and just like slept through that entire
it's a critical part of the story
Even though,
and character.
yes, let's assume he slept through the entire.
Right. He skipped through the dialogue, you know.
Yeah, naturally. What would it mean for a character to feel like a trope as in a story presented by Alex? Does it mean he doesn't understand his friends and views them as it can only explain them using very superficial tropes?
I have this friend, he's really into this. Well, what else does he do? Oh, he's just really into this. That's everything. He's just...
Could it be
he really
Alex?
likes Yik. That's the whole that's his entire character. He doesn't do anything else. He just really likes Yick.
Yeah, even if you take it at face value and ignore everything surrounding why he's like this, there still are story implications as to why he would be presented in such a way, even if you ignore the story.
Yeah.
You see, man, that's where you're wrong. Mahou Shoujo Haru no Shimai is the quintessential human anime. Without this series, the art form would have never progressed.
Hey, Claudio, wait up. So you're into shoujo anime? That's cool. Most guys aren't brave enough to walk around in a shirt like that. Also, you do know that's a girl's shirt, right?
Girl shirt? Oh man, that's messed up. This is no more a girl's shirt than Mahou Shoujo
Really
Haru
padding
no
out that
Shimai
time
is
there.
a girl's anime.
Hell, the game even gives you something more interesting. Than his character.
Can I just point
Claudio
out
and
the
Chandra.
irony in a guy who made a 42-minute video on an indie game, bashing on it, calling anyone else a nerd?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Another character I'll talk about in
yeah.
a few moments lost their brother ages ago, having disappeared into the ether when he was going up to see his friend's house.
You know, I had a dream last
Oh,
night.
he saw that scene.
In my dream, I saw my brother, but my brother was you. Cute little kid grew up to be an ugly ginger like yourself.
That's not Claudio and Chandra's brother. And I will elaborate. In the scene on the mountain where they just, kind of tell the history of them and their brother going missing, his name is Aaron. What is the name of this kid? Alexander. That's not their brother. What it is it's Alex projecting in the importance of their brother figure. This whole reason that they do anything, Alex wants to be the most important person, so he is projecting onto them, going, yeah, I could be a little black kid. That's great. And this kind of artificial importance is rife throughout Yick. But yeah, if you don't pay attention to the dialogue that seems to be, what did he say, fluff earlier, padded, whatever, you can kind of miss the detail that their brother's name is Aaron, and this child's name is Alexander.
Like, even if we take the whole, oh, I had a dream where he turned into you, it as like
he turned into you. He was obviously somebody else at one point.
Even if there are many layers which we can look at this from, we can look at it again from at face value. Like, do you really have to look in, like, overanalyze a weird dream your friend has, like, so much as to, like, project yourself onto their missing brother? It goes back to Alex obsessing over horrible stuff.
Yeah.
But we could also look at it from the perspective of Alex being an unreliable narrator. Like, did Claudio really say that, or is it just Alex trying to justify him inserting himself into the tragedy that happened to Claudio and Chandra?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
He became obsessed with these sorts of cases in order to find his brother. Until that goes poof.
Hey, don't go! I'm coming, wait for me!
Since I've
I
mentioned
wonder
her,
if this
Chandra
means
is
something.
Claudio's brother.
He's a dumbass.
And that's it. She doesn't have a character. Legit, the only thing about her character that is actually memorable, and we get this at the very beginning when we meet her, before she fades into the background, is...
I'm sure if Erin had been a beautiful white woman...
Wait, what was that name again right there? What was I just saying?
And
he edited this video? He edited this video, and that was right there the whole time?
I wonder if Claudia saying this has any implications on other parts of the story, such as Alex himself caring that a beautiful woman had vanished. I'm sorry, I can't take this video seriously.
Everyone would have had a candlelight vigil and a moment of silence. But that's just not how these things work.
And while it isn't particularly great characterization, it's probably a little stereotypical too.
Wait, can anyone pick a lock here?
Oh, about this scene, Andrew said that one of his friends had said this as a joke once. And then he was like, yo, that was funny. Can I throw that in the game? And it's nothing more or nothing less than that.
Yo, wouldn't it be hilarious if I could, out of this ragtag band of misfit friends, the black guy could pick the lock?
Hey, Lee, you know how to pick a lock.
Oh, yeah.
No, why would you say that?
And don't
I don't
pretend
know.
you didn't think
You're
it.
urban?
So to answer your racist ass question, I cannot pick a lock.
Well, you're, urban? Oh, you are not saying what I think you're saying.
Jeez. Well, at least not a car lock. I went through a Sherlock Holmes phase and learned to pick basic locks. You know, antique locks, Egyptian wooden pin locks, a warded lock, RFID locks if I had the right equipment. But definitely not a car lock.
Oh, I just threw up.
Wow, what an oversimplification of what was just said.
But as the game goes
Yeah.
on, she loses even that. Like, she doesn't really have that much of a reason to join the party other than, I don't want to be at work. Let me dump this on an intern and go fight monsters for some ginger cracker.
She's concerned about her brother. She's concerned about her brother being around Alex because Alex brings out the worst in Claudio. Because he's literally feeding Alex and Claudio kind of have a similar thing where Claudio is trying to chase these missing people because he wants to find them because he doesn't want people to go through the pain that he did losing his brother.
Right, and with
He's
Honism, the
genuinely-
mysterious factor is huge for him. It's probably a ray of hope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
doesn't want
he
to
is
give up on
hugely sympathetic, and Chandra doesn't like that and is going around and telling Alex to fuck off because he's feeding this delusion to Claudio.
I love Chandra.
Maybe Chandra has more of a character.
Speaking of dumping things onto interns because you want to fight monsters, I wonder if that's what he did with the game. He dumped playing the game onto an intern. Because that's what it feels like.
I mean, he probably played it. He just didn't understand it.
It's not even didn't understand it. You have to actively ignore stuff to get. You have to be facetious to get to this level of
poopy sewers.
Oh, why did this happen in the sewers? They could fall in poop, and then play a funny clip of the sewers because they could fall in poop.
Yeah.
Hey, careful with that word. That is our word.
Oh, shut the up. Now, with this structure, you'd figure that I'd talk about Alex next. But nope. I'm saving him for his own little segment. Let's talk about Rory. I'm sorry I keep going quiet, but these are terrible characters. Rory is an odd case too, because in all honesty, like Claudio, he has an interesting character concept when you first meet him. The whole idea that Yik was built upon that people are spending too much time on the net and following stories as well as lying on the internet is actually very interesting. And we're introduced to Rory for lying about his sister's death in order to lie to himself.
I invented lying on the internet, so no need to warn me.
Sure, it's a waste of time like I already mentioned, but I actually can forgive that since it's actually a pretty good idea and concept. The execution and what happened afterwards is terrible.
My 12-year-old sister killed herself. She died right here. Right where we're standing.
Hey, dude, cool it with that. No one cares about your sister right now. We almost just died ourselves.
Gee, I wonder if this is a character flaw, not a narrative flaw.
No, I think this is just bad writing.
What's worse is that this is
Maybe
We're supposed
maybe
to like
the
Alex.
look, okay, maybe the reason why we keep going on these adventures to random places and it doesn't really go anywhere is because it's never going to go anywhere for Alex because he's chasing something that isn't real. And each one of these situations pushes him further and further away from his friends.
Are you coming on to me?
Maybe there's a story reason for all of this. Maybe it isn't a waste of time.
It's not even about it being a waste of time. Like you see this in a lot of these geek essays. Like they point to this scene in particular and go, "Oh, this is horrible writing." But like just it's supposed to give you such a visceral reaction because Alex is an asshole. That's the point of the character. He's implying that the reaction that he was supposed to get, which he got, the reaction that they intended, but I don't even know where to begin with this.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the whole point of the scene is to really make it super obvious if you really were sleeping through the entire beginning of the game that hey, Alex is a piece of shit. And
spoilers,
jeez. It's this visceral reaction that he obviously displayed by showing the weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
You pronounce his name. The clip of his screaming. Yeah, that's the appropriate reaction for this exact scene, and that was the point of the scene. So, attributing such a reaction to, oh, it's just bad writing or it's a narrative flaw, it's stupid. They got everything. The narrative got everything out of you it was supposed to in the scene.
Well, I mean, there's a flaw, I think, in terms of the transition that they made. But I've said that before. It's not that big of a deal. I know that Hellcry completely disagrees with that, but at the same time, there is a way to look at that and find at least a small criticism of that moment that is not just based on Alex.
Yeah, I get it. It's one of those. Okay, so like the Golden Alpaca scene isn't any different in reality in the new scene, but it's more overt about what is happening. The Golden Alpaca scene happens because Alex wants justification for how he treats Rory, and what's a better way than some fucking interdimensional monster popping up saying, fuck you, I don't care about your sister, and I don't care about what trauma you're going through, but we need to get the fuck out of here. You know, you need to move on. And he uses that as a way to go, well, look, we almost died to this giant fucking alpaca. Maybe I wasn't a huge dick.
Yeah, so
but really
again, this is gonna be a nice little ending bow to the whole sewer thing. What if Alex is just being as you said, he's trying to justify things, and what if he accidentally almost slipped and fell in the poop water, and he's just super pissed at Rory for having him almost fall in poop water.
We could have had this conversation anywhere else, but now you're gonna have me in here with the poop water.
Yeah, exactly. What if Alex said the exact same thing you said about the sewer scene, and he's super pissed at Rory and everyone for having such a conversation.
He goes,
right next to the poop water, and he's just trying to justify him being a
Rory,
dick.
nobody cares about your dead sister. You just made us wade through waist high in shit water.
Yeah. And he's just trying to justify being a dick by inventing shit about a golden alpaca. Maybe there is some something valid about him saying, "Oh, they're just wading through poop water."
Go anywhere. The only other notable aspect about Rory is that you can either kiss him or drive him to suicide.
Yeah, that's the only thing we note.
That's quite the contrast.
So I want to explain. Maybe I'll wait, see if he actually says anything about this. I don't think he really does, but I will explain Rory's suicide.
And this stands out in the game because this is practically the only actual choices that affect the story in that regard. I mean, Alex is not supposed to be a player insert. He's not really designed that way. And yet we're given choices for how we can actually affect Rory and see if he'll live or die. It just stands out so badly, and it's...
Okay, so this is why. This is a moment where you have Alex acting completely different than he would otherwise. Why? Because the player prevents him from doing the thing that he would do. He would blow off Rory. He would be a dick to Rory. He doesn't like Rory. But why does Rory need Alex? All these other people were sympathetic to Rory. Well, Vela made the situation about herself and brought it up exclusively about her own trauma, and was really just going, hey, look, I got through it. You can get through it. That's not being sympathetic. Rory, if you look on Onism, he is posting constantly, trying to get people to engage with him, to, like, care about him. And all of his posts get ignored. Rory is objectively fucking alone. So, in a moment where he's been told off by Alex, he goes, Alex, look, you'll tell me how it is, right? I need to talk to somebody. And what Alex would do is he'd say, no, fuck you. I don't give a shit. Look, I've got to find Semi. But I don't have time for this shit. But you as a player get the option to go, no, like, Rory, you're cool. And it's ridiculous that everybody tries to frame this as like some weird option, but it makes sense when you consider it within the narrative and like who the character is and what he's struggling with. It's incredibly nuanced, but why aren't we seeing it? Why are you missing it?
It's just so weird. Why would you care about Alex's opinion about you?
Dude, cool it with that. No one cares about your sister right now. We almost just died ourselves.
Maybe because Alex is the only one who
About what he has
interacts
to
with
think
him.
about you. It's especially jarring when you learn about this.
Hey, Vela, it's Alex. I have something I need to talk to you about in person, and...
Alex, where the hell have you been? This is absolutely terrible. Rory committed suicide.
What?
We went to his funeral last night.
Sorry.
Where the hell were you?
Great. You owe me a TV, man.
You know what's actually funny is that Vela was with Alex before he disappeared, and now she's blaming him for what he didn't have any control over. And
Maybe Vela contributed to it somehow, some way. I don't know.
I don't have the patience to really go over this Essentia scene with him, but hey, Alex is the only one that sees the Essentia. Everybody else is standing right in front of it and says basically, what's in there? What do you see? And Alex is like, oh, it's beautiful. And then he disappears. Like, there is something that happens in that scene that we are not told. We're not shown either. But what we're shown is what happens after the scene, where everybody is not talking to Alex, and everybody has like completely different personalities or has undergone significant character growth. And it's like
Without Alex.
Without Alex, right? It's like you're wanting show don't tell, but you're shown the thing. But you don't understand the thing when you're shown the thing.
I think he wants the game to go, so in between every chapter, there's like a summary, and then the game goes hint, hint, wink, wink towards everything that's happening.
Maybe.
Hey, Hellcry, when are you planning on going over Rory's suicide and how you have to actually initiate it on purpose?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how Jack Saint came across it on accident, but you really kind of have to do it on purpose. It is spelled out for you almost every single instance. The game doesn't want you to doesn't want you to let Rory kill himself.
Make sure you remember
Make
to go
sure
pick up Rory.
remember to go pick up Rory. Hey, don't forget Rory all the time. And it to me, that shows like a sign of grief that Alex has, where he's like, I feel so, emotionally weighted for what I did and not reaching out to him. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
What
Do the
if-
thing. Do the thing.
what
Do the
if-
thing. Do the thing.
And hear me out. Hear me out. Rory actually, like, in what really happened, Rory actually committed suicide, okay? And I know this is wild and crackpot, but the choices we can make in the narrative is Alex trying to shift the blame onto us instead of himself.
A little bit of wish fulfillment as well, Oh,
Yeah,
I
what
managed
if-
to do it. I managed to
Yeah,
save
I
my
managed
friend.
to save my friend.
Yeah.
What if
It's one of
it's-
those,
it's-
I can understand people that kind of reject that narrative because it makes it like really, it makes it something you have to experience in a way, but it's also a matter of the way that the story tells you these things. It seems like it's leading into that.
What if this is one of the very few moments we can actually see Alex having some sort of regret and personal, like, even if he's shifting the guilt onto you, he recognizes it. Oh, I should have done this. And I won't say few, I said few, it's wrong. He does that a lot, but it just shows, it adds on to the thing that even though people might recognize where they're going wrong and what they should do to fix it, doesn't mean that they can fix it, Because in my interpretation of the story, Rory committed suicide, and there's nothing you can do about it because it already happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Rory. He basically has no reason to join the party, especially after Alex blows up on him. So, I don't know what the hell's keeping him around.
These are the only people that have acknowledged his existence.
Cool. Well, hey, this is the first time I'm not being quiet after I say a character's name. That's cool. Well, he wasn't
I
actually
wonder, hold on,
interesting,
pause for a
but he
second.
served
I wonder if Rory's character being so weird and feels like he's just pieced together is because that's actually what's happening, and he's dead, and Alex is just inserting his projection of Rory onto the story. Okay, you can continue.
The plot is he was a major part of the online conspiracy website, Onism, and he raided Freddy Krueger's closet, so hey, there's gotta be something there that's interesting.
RPG games are seriously the best! Chrono Trigger, Lufia 2, Secret of Mana? Those games are like the holy grail of my youth!
Well, Michael has a bit of a walking start in the story. He slowly fades into the background, only coming out to insult Alex and jab at him and the rest of the party every once in a while. Now, while I can still see this as a bad thing, in the context of the story, it's actually pretty unique when I look back on it, as we learn Michael apparently moved away as a kid and that he and Alex got into a fight before he did. Which, considering the plot of the game, makes sense, and is a nice touch when I think about it. At least until Michael loses his shirt. Yes, I said shirt. You all
that's
have
the best
dirty
part of the game.
minds.
I am me, but I am also her or him.
I am thou, thou art me. We are a happy family.
I have my memories, but they also don't belong to me.
Hey! Alex! Help me! I'm stuck in a mine dungeon!
The
The very act of experiencing a parallel life is mind-shattering. When we are born, we immediately begin developing a series of biases and defenses that help us ground
Oh wow, he became all zen and needs to shave his chest, and he's still boring as
Body
all
shaming.
hell. And finally we have Vela, probably the most important character aside from Alex. And normally I'd be down for that, but she also acts as probably the biggest lore dump in the entire game. And throw in the odd speaking styles that I've said before, she comes off as extremely dull, and honestly, I just wanted to mash the buttons to make sure she was stopped talking.
Okay, can I ask you
It's
a
not
question?
like most of the stuff
Yeah.
she says actually.
So, I love the scene, and I really do love what Vela contributes.
Is
but
this self-awareness?
hold on, Void.
Does
Do
he
you believe that
recognize
this
that
is
this is a
actually
bad
a
way
lore
to
dump in any
approach
way, shape, or
dialogue
form?
in
Hold on, Void.
a narrative game?
1 second.
Or
Void.
is he?
Knights was saying something.
Okay.
As much as I really do love the scene, which I do you feel like this is actually a lore dump that is meaningful in terms of understanding Alex and Yick itself, or is it just flavor text?
Oh, I mean, the lore dump that happens here is pretty fucking important. And then even on top of that, it acts as flavor text, characterizing how Alex obviously doesn't give a shit what Vela is saying, but he acts interested. Like it is everything. Everything in Yick is everything. But yeah, it is. She's telling you the mechanics of how this work, not because they're objective truths, but because it's the truth that she's found, right? And it's like, well, later when you find other things that may contradict this, you're supposed to go, well, which of these? What's going on here? What's going on underneath these things? And when you just go, it's just a lore dump. It's like, well. And it's also really deep character moments about her life.
The problem, like, if you take it as a lore dump, is exactly this. Like, if you take it as like a lore dump instead of a character talking about their understanding of the mechanics of the world, whenever something contradicts their the supposed lore dump, it's suddenly, oh, there's a narrative contradiction instead of, oh, there's a character contradiction.
Yeah. Yep.
Actually matters. The game seems to follow the rules it sets and then breaks the same rules whenever it feels like.
I wonder why that happens. Maybe because we're not exactly told the actual rules.
Which is a shame, because she started off pretty interesting. She's a girl with psychic powers. That's a pretty good concept. How do you screw that up? No.
By not understanding when the character is telling you like deep, meaningful part of their story.
I'm
No, this is all fluff text, remember.
Oh yeah, lore dump.
Does his manga, again, this goes back, has whatever MangaKamen, keep trying to refer to him as MangaKamen. Does he have any close friends?
Oh, I mean,
Boyd, you just can't ask the man if he has friends.
No, like, this is a genuine question. Does he have close friends? Has he ever just sat down and talked real shit with a close friend?
Yeah, but he wouldn't put that in a video game. Like, why would you do that?
Maybe he considers that type of conversation fluff text.
Yeah. Sorry, Pam. Right now you're
Wouldn't that
speaking in
be
fluff
Alex's-
text, and I'm not interested.
Wouldn't that be Alex's reaction? Isn't that kind of the whole point of Alex?
Are
as
you
a
trying to
critique?
say that my man MangaKamen is acting like an Alex?
He's looking at people pouring their heart out. It's just flavor text and lore dumps. I wonder if when a friend like comes to him and pours their heart out, he's just like, Excuse me, show, don't tell. I do not want this lore dump. Okay. Okay.
That's usually what I tell my friends when they're starting to be like really introspective and deep with me.
That's exactly how I feel like I need to talk to Robin, maker of things, at every single point of our conversations. I mean, that and a mom reference, but you know, God bless his heart.
Now, looking individually, each of the characters tend to be as shallow as a puddle most of the time, but sometimes
Yet you still spent the past however long just talking about them.
About 10 minutes.
you can have a dull cast yet be driven on their interactions between the group, basically seeing friction and cohesion.
I think he's confusing the idea that he has to like these characters and be engaged with them and like want to see them succeed in any way as depth.
That's fair.
I think that's where the disconnect he's having is.
Get that here. I don't know, it just comes off as totally artificial, like really isn't a dynamic amongst the characters. With the exception of arguing with Alex, most of these characters don't really show any interactions, save for a few times.
Why?
Go
Why?
home,
Why do you think that?
Wash
What
off
happened?
your eyeliner, apologize to your parents, and go back to being normal kids.
Wow, Vela. Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
I love Michael. He is so based.
But just a handful of these interactions don't really make me care for these characters as a group, and at the end of the day, they all just
Andrew,
die.
to the right
literally, that is
of that
what
scene?
happens in the game.
Huh?
They die. Meaning whatever arcs they got just
I wasn't
end, and
paying
we get
attention.
no closure.
Oh, the
Like, I
art
suppose,
looked
like,
vaguely
whatever
like Andrew,
literal-
and I got a kick out of it.
But just a handful of these interactions don't really make me care for these characters as a group, and at the end of the day, they all just die. No, literally, that is what happens in the game.
Is it?
They die. Meaning
Is it
whatever arcs they
literally?
got just end, and we get no
Which one?
closure.
Where?
Like, I suppose I could
Do we
like these
not?
characters, but they just don't seem to gel with me. They don't stand out. Their designs don't really speak to me. Again, I feel like I'm seeing people who are working together because the writer wants to be that way, especially when you consider that whenever Alex screws up to the group,
Because
almost
Alex
immediately
wants
forgives
to
his
be
stupidity without any
right.
other conflict. Especially when you consider Alex.
Oh man.
Would be like to be the owner, I imagine describing him to a friend. Lonely? Nah, I don't get too lonely. Besides my mom, who's only a cat. An old cat. But a good friend to talk to.
I think the biggest issue.
Besides my mom, there's only a cat.
I
Besides my
wonder
mom,
if-
there's only a cat.
I wonder if that plays into
Besides
anything
my mom,
else.
there's only a cat.
What about the sister though?
Besides my mom, there's only a cat.
issue people had with Yick, and I myself need to admit I too have issues with it, is the main character, Alex.
I want to make a game about a guy who's like a piece of shit, unlikable character who by the end of the game has to transform.
Well, mission accomplished.
But too many gamers, when they look at this, when they play a game, they're so used to having to identify with the character. That if
I
they
do
play a
appreciate
game
the South
where
Park
main
reference
characters
here.
are
I can't believe he
unlikable,
plagiarized
or
South
some
Park.
bad stuff, they
No, it's
immediately
Canada.
get
It's
triggered
plagiarized
by
in
it.
Canada.
And that's the
Oh,
point
yeah,
of
yeah.
Alex. He's not meant to be likable, which is fine.
Hold on, I need to ask Andrew if he's Canadian. That might be racist.
Games where the main characters
I think
are
he has a
unlikable or
Polish
just plain
ancestry?
jackasses or
It's vaguely
undesirable.
ethnic.
Cloud Strife.
You owe me a pizza.
Brad Armstrong, and a number of characters from the Disgaea series, and many more. These
Okay.
characters, while doing
Cloud Strife, flawed character, kind of a dick. Sure, but he's not a piece of shit.
He's also got the cool big sword which goes the // and he has the Omni Slash and he's cool just like me.
Yeah, the Disgaea characters, they're literally just villains. Like, they're comical villains. What do you mean they're pieces of shit? They're written to be the characters that they are, you know?
doing deplorable things or being unlikable, have something that Alex doesn't, and that's entertainment and actual growth. Alex throughout the game were given many times where we see him berate himself.
Actual growth. We're lacking actual growth, right? Maybe that's the point. Man, I know, I say some pretty crazy shit, but
Hold on. Just go back for 5 seconds and just let this phrase play out.
yeah.
You owe me a pizza.
Brad Armstrong and a number of characters from the Disgaea series, and many more. These characters, while doing deplorable things or being unlikable, have something that Alex doesn't, and that's entertainment and actual growth. Alex throughout the game were given many times where we see him berate himself, going on to long tangents with little monologues, arguing with a stuffed panda that actually acts as his own consciousness. And a lot of this is stuff that you can cut from the game, and it wouldn't affect the game's story at all.
I dated.
Okay. Let's take what he says at face value. He berates himself a lot, and none of it leads to his growth.
Yeah.
It's almost like self-deprecation leads you nowhere, and you won't really achieve any sort of personal or interpersonal growth through doing nothing but self-deprecation and wallowing in how shitty of a person you are instead of actually trying to change. I wonder if that's one of the themes in the character of Alex.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. They do that multiple times, so there's no way they meant for that to happen.
I don't think the artist intended anything. I think they just made a postmodern piece where they wrote words.
Yeah, but yes,
I just wanted to let this play out because, just so you guys know, I haven't really watched like 99% of these Yik videos.
Oh, this is actually one of the very first ones that I've actually seen.
This, if they're all this facetious, I knew they were bad. I didn't know they were this facetious
I will say,
and just horrible.
all of the this is one of the worst ones. But all the ones tomorrow are better. Jax was pretty good. I'll put Jax in the same category as everyone tomorrow.
Yeah, Jax
was like,
okay.
To even get like a little bit of like how I feel about these videos. So like Graveyard Medias I don't care for. This video I don't care for. Jack Saints videos, it's alright. Snaker's I like that he almost gets it. Like he tries to look deeper and just doesn't end up getting it. That's why I'm really excited to speak with him tomorrow. Iced and Steel, they're okay. It's not a great video, but it's fine. Running Shine's video is pretty good because it's mostly mechanics, and he's kind of right that the mechanics are kind of doo-doo in the past, but they've been fixed. So
what about John T's video?
No,
we don't talk about John T's video.
He released a new video while we were in the middle of this stream.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
So,
but Uric Salad Bar is the last one. There is a conceit I have about his videos that it's a piece of a grander work. He's kind of talking about a bunch of different things, and it was just a piece of it. And yeah, but it's still really good.
This perfectly encapsulates what I hate about discourse surrounding Yik. Because there's what Jack did, which was fair. He misunderstood a lot, but that's fine. He didn't go out of his way to animate Andrew as a South Park character and say, oh, what if they fell in the poop water? And then played the funny video clip of them falling in the poop water and had the laugh track. This is... I'll even expand this even further beyond. This is what really annoys me about internet discourse in general. It's just people trying to make each other laugh by
isn't that kind of what you're doing right now a little bit though?
Yes, but the difference is I'm responding in kind. If this were like an actual video where he didn't play the funny laugh track after the funny video after saying, oh, the poop water.
Yeah, it's hard to be completely genuine about this video because it's so comical and everything's so played up to be this kind of.
It feels like he thinks he's in a sitcom, and everything has to be a one-liner or a gotcha or a laugh track moment. That's what it feels like, honestly. And it's so grating as someone who doesn't spend a lot of time online and doesn't watch a lot of sitcoms and television. It's really annoying.
Yeah, and in my opinion, even if he had good takes, it's detracting away from him because it's like, hey, you had a good point maybe here, and then now we're
And
just.
then you played the funny laugh track and animated the developers, the South Park character.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, a lot of these videos like fall under like they scrape the surface, and the surface is like, oh, Alex berates himself a lot but doesn't achieve actual growth. Therefore, it's horrible. It's terrible character writing instead of going and thinking, hey, what does this mean for not only implications for the story, but what the story is actually trying to say on like a grander scale. So it's like the whole self-deprecation thing. And this is one of the things that really connected with me when I played through Yik, is that
So I got to take off, but it's been really good talking with you all, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by.
Is I had just not just I had realized such a self-deprecation spiral, like wallowing in, oh, look at how horrible of a person I am, haha. Like, wouldn't it didn't get me anywhere. So breaking the cycle involves not berating yourself and actually working to improve yourself, which is the exact opposite of what Alex does. That's not a narrative flaw, that's a human flaw. That's a flaw in Alex.
Yeah. Yep, we're almost done with this video. Let's see if we
Girl
can
in
wrap it
college
up
who was
real
a women
quick.
and gender studies major. She told me that she believed men and women were all the same.
There is nothing
laugh track.
wrong with having a little bit of dialogue like this in your game. Heck, shooting the breeze is a good window into allowing people to see your characters in a more relaxed environment. Reading your characters' thoughts allows your people to get into the minds of these characters. But when your game is suffocating with this, and it's mostly coming from the main character, it's not going to want to get players to keep invested. The thing about terrible characters that can make them engaging is wanting to have the audience eventually rooting for them. Either to see them grow to become better, or they have a goal that we, the audience, can relate to. Brad Armstrong from Lisa the
Remember
Painful
how I
does
said
have a noble
everyone
goal,
points to Lisa?
to save his adopted...
Yeah, so like Brad Armstrong has pure intentions. Like, he's a fucking piece of shit, sure.
No, like,
and he
I
does
like-
things that are wrong, yes. And he does things that are bad, and he knows they're bad. But he wants the good thing to happen.
So, like, it's not like I don't like Lisa or I don't like The Last of Us. It's that you have to recognize that this is a tried and tried and true trope that manages to grab people's attention for a reason, you know.
daughter, Buddy.
Yeah.
Sure, he does terrible things, but he has a good goal. At first, it's something to look the player in and keep you going along with the character as long as he does terrible things. Alex does start off with something like that, trying to find Sammy Park, but that goal is slowly pushed into the background and only brought up at the end of the game. Are you starting
Almost
to notice
as
a
if
theme here?
it's irrelevant.
Now, I don't like Alex,
Mhm.
and while they may have been designed that way, I'm only human, and unfortunately, Alex doesn't grow on me as a character. We're told
He's
he
not
does, but we
supposed
don't
to.
see that growth. And even when he tries to stop the world from ending by ending the two Sid Vicious knockoffs, he doesn't take responsibility. He puts that on you, the player.
I wonder why. I wonder if that's intentional.
Yeah, the game breaks the fourth wall.
in here?
Oh, shut the
Laugh
And
track.
and again, like, so I've said this. I don't feel like he's literally like, you, hey, yeah, you do this for me. He is saying, hey, look, I know you've been here. You've done some shitty shit before. You've had, you've been kept up late at night by mistakes you've made in high school. You can relate to me, right? Like, please relate to me. I'm a relatable guy. I made mistakes. Can you help me out?
up. But to actually swing for Yick, there are a few criticisms about Alex that I don't agree with, and I have to disagree with my original thoughts on him in my first video. First, Alex is not an author insert. Yes, there are aspects where you can see Andrew Allison, one of the developers of Yick, putting himself into the character. That can be said
No,
for every
not at
author
all.
how they
Never,
close. He was so
never.
close.
Who? Never can see Andrew putting himself into Alex's character. Andrew fucking hates Alex.
So let me rephrase what he said. So Alex is not an author insert except when he is. That's what he said.
He's not ever an author insert. He never
Except
is.
when he is.
He is the author of his life, but he is not an insert for the author.
Yeah, I'm just saying MangaKamen basically said he's not an author insert, but he is.
I'm just saying he's
All
fucking
fit
wrong.
themselves and their characters. Most people will see this image and think that this is Andrew, but it's not. This is Andrew. Don't get me wrong, I stand by my criticism of Alex and Yick as a whole, but that doesn't mean I appreciate the misinformation attributed to the game. The second issue is that, and I'm ashamed for myself for having done this myself in my original video, is that the game doesn't really forgive Alex for his horrible actions. At least not in the same regard as I initially postulated last year in my video. Yes, I think the party forgiving Alex is a bit too quick for my liking.
It's not.
However,
It doesn't matter, dude. Like, look, they forgive him. You have friends who fuck up, and then you go, hey man, it's cool, just don't do it again. The difference is Alex is the guy that does it again.
penultimate message of the game is that through his selfish actions, Alex got his friends killed and he's left alone. It's probably
Did
the
he
biggest
really
slap
get
in the
them
face
killed?
to a character like him can get. As a side note, remember when I brought up that Rory scene way back when this video started?
Hey, dude, cool it with that! No one cares about your sister right now. We almost just died ourselves.
Alex, what is wrong with you? How can you be so selfish?
You're an asshole, Alex. I thought you came to help me.
Yeah, back when you didn't lie to us. You realize you've been leading us on this whole time about your sister? You acted like this was connected to Sammy.
Both of you, try and calm down. Alex, leave Rory alone. That's uncalled for. And Rory, breathe with me. In, out.
It's just like Celeste.
Just like that.
Yeah, I actually
Uh-huh.
stand by Alex in this regard. Because let's think about this. Someone who went missing right before your eyes, and some emo git who messed up his dye job dangles some information that's might related to her. He drags you all around his town.
Damn, it's like you almost found Alex relatable.
I'm going to have a fucking stroke, I swear.
So it's like he makes this point, and it contradicts like everything he said before. I'm so fucking confused, right? Let's keep going.
Where you're forced to fight a life and death situation
With
against
poo
a
water.
golden alpaca, and you almost die, and you find out it was a lie. Would you go, "Oh, don't worry, chap. We'll try this again later"? No! You'd be pissed off. So I actually agree with Alex with this point that Rory did lie to them and almost cost everyone
I'm
their
going
lives.
to have a fucking stroke, I swear.
Yeah, why are you being such a dick, Alex? Seriously, man, keep it together.
I know you got scared because we almost died down there, but can't you see that Rory is hurt? His sister freaking killed herself.
I don't get you, dude.
You know full well that you're overreacting, but you just won't back down. Will it kill you to say you're sorry? Seriously?
Probably.
Say you're sorry.
Obviously, this movie has its head up its own anus.
The only problem is that the game shames me and him for it. Not for long enough, though, because the characters instantly forgive Alex and becomes a fart in the distance. But Alex isn't a bad character.
Hey, isn't there a whole chapter called "Everyone Hate"? And like, the chapter starts with a song called "Everyone Hates You," and then the chapter is called what is it? Apology Tour.
They don't.
Wait, didn't that also take weeks after Alex pulled this shit? I think this man failed the context vibe check.
It's not even he failed the context vibe check. He just... I don't even know what's going on in his head, honestly. He goes, oh, and I agree with Alex here.
Yeah, see, that's the point where this video just goes, whoa, way off the rails. It's like, Alex is a fucking piece of shit. He's fucking terrible. Nothing ever does was right. But I agree with Alex. It's like, whoa, man. Hold on. Let's go back a few minutes where you're talking about how he's always wrong.
This is like the worst scene to agree with him on.
Yeah.
Like, you can understand where he came from, but to agree with him on and say, hey, yeah, I'd say the same thing he would say. It's like, dude.
It's a little rough. It's a little rough, to say the least.
Because he's a bad person or does bad things.
He's a
bad character because he's annoying, and most of his dialogue is filled
He's a bad character because he's annoying.
nothing but fluff and him going blah 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 blah.
Almost like that's the point of the character.
Staring off into space and screwing up your face as if to say, what's going on inside my head is really important, so just let me think.
It's a really high bar for people to connect with a character. Because even less than desirable characters, even bad characters, can be considered classics. Take Joel from The Last of Us.
There it is.
Game series with him killing people left and right.
There it
He's
is.
become a softer character in the story for Ellie and is willing to do what he can at the end of his journey to save her. It's why his death in part 2 is impactful, because a lot of the people could sympathize with him. Meanwhile, Alex doesn't have that same thing going on. Now, I've seen interviews...
He says the issue is you can sympathize with Joel. Didn't he just sympathize with Alex, saying, yo...
Here's a fun drinking game if you want to go to the hospital. Drink every time someone compares Alex to Joel or the father from Lisa.
Yeah, it happens.
And I've seen where Andrew Allison is saying that Alex is supposed to grow as a character. But most of his growth comes at the very end of the game. And by then, most players probably don't care if Alex becomes a better person because it's all...
He doesn't become a better person.
So I guess all I can say is...
Well, he does.
Shut the up.
He does if you just don't play Yick again.
That while I have been harsh in this video, I still have respect for Axe Studios and Andrew Allison. Look, I don't like their product.
Yeah, he clearly showed his respect by animating Andrew as a South Park character.
At least their game works, and while there are some rough corners here and there, it's not a huge mess. That being said, while I can respect Yick in some regard, and I can understand it's a game that's meant to be close to developers, especially considering it was being worked on with the Allison brothers losing their mother in the process of development. I understand losing someone like that and how it can effectively mess with you.
No, you don't.
In the real world and your creative minds. I made an entire video that was dedicated to that person that I lost too. So trust me, I understand how hard it can be and how it can affect you in so many ways. But as a critic,
I don't take back what I said.
My thoughts and emotions and how I react to the product that Axe Studios put out. Not the one they are making right now, but the one they initially put out. It's been out for almost 2 years at this point, and with that content update, it may be a bit of a long shot to fix all the issues that I and many others have put out there in the public. I do hope that Yick does improve, and I hope that if ACT makes new games, that these will be good games that are well received. I will admit that most of the criticisms that Yick received were blown way out of proportion, that they were made way too big. There is potential. I can even see it in Yick.
You know, I agree. A lot of the criticisms, even in this video, are well out of proportion.
Or turn to the abyss for me. But hey, that's just me. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below.
My thoughts are I'm gonna be very, very frank here. If you again, these are my thoughts. This isn't representative of Hellcry or Andrew or literally anyone else involved with Yik. MangaKamen, you are Alex. You are a facetious piece of shit who you did exactly what he tried to do in the game, where he goes, "Oh, well, it wasn't that bad. I do respect the game," to try to earn some favor from people who actually like the game. You disrespected everyone involved with the game. You animated Andrew as a caricature of a South Park character and took 15 seconds, a 15-second clip from like 30-40 minutes he was on the Dick Show podcast, and used that as the basis for like 5 jokes you made. You repeatedly not only took things out of context, or in the we didn't watch the full gameplay thing, but you were like what seemed to me like anyone who's ever played any RPG ever will tell you that's not how you play an RPG. You are a horrible, horrible person. And honestly, you should really, really reevaluate your decisions in life and your personality, and just go on a deep introspective dive and better yourself as a person. Because I'm gonna do the same thing you did. You have a lot of talent. Okay, I respect you a lot as a person who was able to make a 42-minute video bashing on something and taking things out of context. You're still talented. You draw well. You can be funny. You can understand stuff if you're not being facetious or just trying to be funny. But using, trying to say, hey, I understand what they went through because, hey, I also lost someone, right after you just spent however long, again, making the dude who lost his mother literally a caricature of a South Park character. No, you don't understand. You're a piece of shit. You're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I would say that, like, yeah, you kind of seem to get some things about the story, but you seem to kind of not understand what it's trying to tell you. Like, it's trying to explain to you why acting like Alex is a bad idea, and you kind of missed that. And like, I I guess I appreciate that you're trying to be all nice at the end, but it doesn't change the fact that you kind of misrepresented a lot of things for 42 minutes, mostly filled with back-to-back jokes. And I get, like, it's a YouTube video, you're trying to entertain your audience, all that fun stuff, and you have a format that you probably stick to, but you contradicted yourself a lot. You would one scene say something and be like, hey, this is really bad, and then the next scene show the thing that you're supposed to take from it, and, like, actually, consider to form a full thought, and you separated them, and it's like, well, put them back together and talk about it, or think about what's happening here, like, because you're missing it. But I don't think he's being outwardly malicious. I will say, yeah, he has some similarities.
Where I draw the line is with the whole South Park caricature thing.
Yeah.
And then him trying to claim, oh, I know what that's like.
Or the, Alex isn't a self-insert, but sometimes he is.
Like...
Yeah, no, I get that. But yeah,
I'm
again, I think his video is just exhausting. It's not really. It doesn't really seem to say anything meaningful because he contradicts himself so often, and so it's just exhausting to watch because you're surrounded by these jokes constantly, and this misrepresentation of stuff, and it's like, well, okay, this is dreadful, this is boring, I'm just getting fluff. This is 42 minutes of fluff that you complained about.
I'll speaking from a calmer position. I feel that there is I'm gonna be generous here and say a lot of this video and a lot of the stuff you did was purely for entertainment factor and purely for the haha funny YouTube video potential, and assume you aren't like this in real life. But honestly, in future reviews or discussions or things of the sort, you should really consider what you're doing when, again, you make a caricature of someone, because it might not fly as well as you think it does. Like, it might be funny to your audience, but there are tons of things which might be funny, but people just don't do because they are horrible and reprehensible.
Yeah.
And I won't do, like, this is genuine now. You obviously do have a lot of talent in what you do. You managed to garner an audience, which is impressive in and of itself. And your presentation, like, apart from the constant sitcom and laugh track stuff, or the tier stuff, the presentation itself is solid. But you should really be more introspective about stuff, because the one bit where everyone, including people who love Yik, the everyone says, "Oh, Alex is a piece of shit," especially in this part, and you relate to him in that part, like, consider
it's one
what.
of those situations where, like, that scene, I can agree with where MangaKamen's coming from, but it doesn't change
Yeah,
the fact that
I
it's
can.
so fucking insensitive.
Yeah, I can understand where he's coming from, but you going out and saying, "No, I agree with Alex," that's like a step beyond, you know. And I have said my fair share of really insensitive things, as I imagine everyone else has. Everyone has stuff they regret saying. And you should really, without, yeah, fuck it, I'm not gonna go
Yeah.
full, yeah.
We're not
Very,
psychiatrists for this
yeah.
guy, you know. We're just talking about how he doesn't understand Yik.
Try harder, basically. Honestly,
It's not
because
too bad.
yeah, just try harder to make a less groan worthy and painful to watch video.
All right. Well, thank you.